Okay.
Actually, Steve, we'll have you move up and which one you move on.
I'm good.
You're
I'm just fine right here. I'm a little bit important.
That's not right.
Everyone is important. I'm going to call the meeting to order. Perfect. All right, so our first item tonight, we have just a couple of quick things to take care of before the presentation, so that we can give as much time as possible to it. First thing, Grant has made to let the Historic Preservation Commission members know that Amber has resigned. So this is also now our entire commission. So he wanted to see how we wanted to go about getting another member onto the commission, if you're okay using the same list that you guys are pulled from, or if you wanted to open back up more applications.
Let's do the same list.
Yeah,
Because we were already strong, might as well draw the other people from there.
Keep going, yeah, keep going, since there's already people kind of in the meeting. Okay, perfect. I don't think we need a full motion for that. It was just. Yeah, so we could know what you guys want.
Perfect.
The next item is we need to reschedule the museum tour. Grant wanted to know if we wanted to do that in lieu of a regular meeting, or if you guys wanted to do it at a separate time, if there was another time that was better for people.
You're talking about the historic preservation,
Yes, the museum.
the museum tour.
Mhm.
I can arrange it. Anybody wanting to come, or they have a time. And you want to come, I can arrange it. And I can be there, I can have
We
somebody
get it
there.
arranged through whatever.
So it doesn't matter, it can be. At the time you want, it could be daytime or nighttime, and in between time and night, you get a tea and. Open it up and give it a tour.
Is there a time that works better?
Is our next meeting, what do we have next month? Do we have much where we can replace it with that? So it's a day that we've already set
Yes,
aside.
it would be June 15th
Mhm.
and a Thursday. To do it at 6 p.m. like their normal meeting, if that works for everybody. Does
Yeah,
I think that works. Yeah.
that work?
you know, it really is.
I'm glad I didn't miss it because it was supposed to be last month. We had a
Mhm.
dental
Oh, you
thing.
done this on this time?
And so I was like, I
It's not
so
bad.
Oh, you
One of the
did?
kids up there.
I saw it and I was like, "Oh, yay.
So this will work better since.
Right.
And we can have more people.
So if we decide to do it, I can be there. Last time I couldn't be there. I was in the hospital.
Mhm.
But I think only one person showed up.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it was.
And it doesn't mean
And if you've
we
been
want to
there
ramble.
before, you'll come because there's
Yeah.
stuff that they have.
Okay, let's plan on June 15th at 6.
And that'll just be out there. We'll meet
And
them
I'll
out
have.
there, right?
Yeah, we'll
myself
just be
there
there.
Give the tour, or I'll have somebody else give the tour.
Perfect. Okay, we'll plan all that.
And
And then,
everybody know where it is,
Yeah.
next to the Sarah. Yeah.
perfect. And then, Olivia, do we have any updates on the grant progress?
Well, we didn't talk about it last time, but we do have all the grant information. She sent over a lot of the paperwork on how to submit requests, as well as a list of people that we can get bids from. We have to get a bid from 3 people to do the survey before we hire them to do the survey. So we're going to start looking at which one's going to fit best for our time frame, because it has to get done before August 2024. So we'll just have to make sure that whoever we hire meets our requirements, can get it done in time. Our main focus is the area around 1600. And when we start looking at who we're going to hire, I'll let you guys know.
Yeah.
If you got a list of people.
Yeah, they sent over a group of like 3 or 4 pages worth of contact information to look at. So it's a lot of people to go through. So that's all I have on that right now. I do have a meeting with Elena next month, hopefully, to go over more of
Okay. Sweet. Sounds good.
I may know some people on the list. I'm not positive, but I may need some. So that needs to see about this.
Yeah. I can probably send it over and you can do some research. We'll divide it up. I'll email you guys about
Yeah, for
that.
sure. That'd be great.
Because there's a lot.
Yeah, there are a lot.
You know, when we did the original It really worked out well. That's why we have Nelson's Road, because of that originally. And there are lots of things that come from that. So. And I may know some of it.
Sweet. Okay. Well, that is all we have before discussing the Women and Children's Monument. Just, I went through the handy dandy proposal request sheet, just because I'm filling in, this isn't my. I wanted to have answers as best as I could. So we can go through that after we talk, or I can go through it before, whichever y'all would prefer, since you're here to us, so. whichever.
Well, maybe we need to get an introduction of who's here.
That would be
And
great.
kind of how this whole thing began. So Sarah, do you want to explain about the conference, the presentation that you guys had done and the project that you're working on?
Yeah, so I'm Sarah Reed. I'm a professor in the history department at BYU. I teach Scandinavian and history and family history and Scandinavian American interest in Utah. And with Professor Julie Allen, there is a project to gather stories of Scandinavian women who immigrated to Utah. Because a lot of them haven't been told because they're in Danish or Swedish or Norwegian. And through this process is what I believe Rebecca Driggs found this story of this family and the settling here, and then what happened with the children. Is Rebecca going to talk more about that, or?
Yeah, so we
Okay.
actually have a video. So the first time I came in contact with Sarah, Julie, and Becca was at a symposium that they were giving, and they each went into it. Because of time constraints, they couldn't go into great depth. But Becca said, when I get up 1600 North and I drive along, you can actually watch the video of the presentation if you get online. I can send it to you. She says, I'm driving along 1600 North, I pass Quick Quack, and on this little plot of land, there's two Scandinavian boys. And it immediately piqued my interest because I live a block from that. And I've watched the house be torn down that used to be there, that was owned by the family members, and they can talk about that. Because 1600 North and 400 West has always been a bit of a conundrum as far as the intersection there goes. And so for a long time, it was quite confusing. There was an island in the middle of the road. And by eminent domain, the city of Orem bought the Calander property as well as another house next to it, and those homes were demolished. And so I was shocked to find out that two little boys were buried there. So if we could watch the video of Becca, she apologizes, she can't be here tonight. She's actually flying back from being in Greece. So she was doing some study stuff abroad. But she wanted her voice to be heard.
Yes. And I have it right here. And hopefully the volume works. If not, we will restart and try again.
Hi. First, I want to thank the Orem City Council members for taking time to meet with us. I love Ava Carlotta. I love this work, and I'm really grateful for them. I am currently international. I'm on Sarah's, so I hope cars won't go by so you can hear me. I fly in tonight at 10 p.m. So I'm devastated to miss the meeting, but very grateful that you're listening to me the video. My name is Becca Driggs. I'm a senior studying history at BYU, and I first met Eva Carlotta Anderson when I was working on a presentation about Swedish American LDS women, their experiences coming to the United States, why they came, what life was like, all that. Her story stuck out to me on Family Search because for a couple reasons. But first was the plethora of sources available about her. Her family has done an incredible job keeping the record. The second was part of this record was a transcription of her immigration journal. And it was so fun to read about what it looked like crossing the Atlantic in 1870. She talked about being surprised that Americans worked on the summer solstice because that was a really big holiday in Sweden. So kind of that like culture shock, and then also her awe at the mountains as she was coming into Ogden. And so now when I look at the mountains along the Wasatch Front, I think of her and I think of her amazement and her sacrifice in coming to Utah and giving up everything she knew because of her faith. And then the last reason that I love Ava Carlotta Anderson is because of the depth of grief that she experienced and her resilience towards that. We talked about in our proposal, while she was on the polygamous underground, so while she was in hiding as a second wife, she had 2 children pass away. And because she was in hiding, she couldn't take them to the cemetery, she couldn't have a proper burial, so she buried them in her yard. And the image of her mourning this child on her own and then having to do it a second time is just wrenched my soul. And so after my presentation, Jill Jorgensen, she came up to me and she's like, this story is amazing. We need to do something about it. We need to tell people. Here we are. We met up for lunch, talk about details, and we were trying to figure out why this mattered. Why does her story matter? Why do we need a place for it? What is the purpose of the past in the present? And specifically this story about this Swedish woman who lived a pretty average life. And an experience that came to us is this almost universal experience of losing a loved one, right? While death isn't as common now as it was in 1870, when Ava was living, it still happens, right? Whether it's through stillbirths or miscarriages, or children dying young, like Ava's, or dying older, death in family is a heartbreaking experience. And we want this lot next to Quick Quack, this lot that I love so much, even though it really doesn't have anything except a sleeping bag and some needles. We want to turn it into a little garden that people can go to in order to commemorate the death of their loved ones, and to feel that sense of community. Ava Carlotta had to grieve alone, but we don't have to, right? And so a little garden, for right now, just a little plaque would be such an incredible step towards telling women and families that they're not alone in their process of grief. And that is such a powerful moment as a community that we can reach out to the people in need. So I'm so grateful again for you guys taking the time to meet with us. And I hope you consider it for thought.
Where was the property?
I can show you this for them at 1600.
Yes. So the property actually, a lot of the hurdles have already been met. So my background is I worked in commercial real estate in Washington, DC, Dallas, and then here in Utah. And the city of Orem already owns the property. So that's a huge hurdle that's already done. A huge cost sometimes is the geology aspect of hiring people. And this is Steve Nelson. He lives also just a block from the property, and he is a BYU professor. And he has graciously offered the services to make this a project for a team of undergraduate BYU students to radar check the property. We do know that the 2 boys were buried in pine boxes. And so Steve is here to kind of explain what the process would be in order for them to do this, so we could hopefully find the remains.
So do we kind of know it's like in this general area, I'm assuming, like towards the back?
Well,
Because, I mean, Steve, do you want to be involved? Yeah, so is it? So Steve can come up here. They search.
And then you probably.
Yeah.
You probably.
All right, so we'll have Steve explain, and then I want the family members also to say who they are and their their understanding of where it's located on the property.
I'm Steve Nelson. I'm in geological sciences.
He also served a mission in Sweden.
And my Swedish is still pretty good.
Yeah, they're all.
And it's a small world. About a dozen years ago, I was actually a member of this commission. And we just kind of stopped meeting. And so anyways, this plot area here, and we can certainly, if we have the detective work to narrow it down, we can do ground penetrating radar over that site. And what the ground penetrating radar measures is changes in soil compaction. So a grave would have disturbed the natural soil and sediment and loosened it. And so we actually get radar reflections and returns. Unless you decide to dig, you never know. If you think you see something, you never know unless you did, right? But the old, parts of the old foundation and things ought to be visible because they were backfilled. But it's relatively simple. It would take about a day. We push a little instrument that it looks like a three-wheel jogging stroller. It carries the radar receiving and sending antenna underneath it. My colleague John McBride last week and the week before spent about 10 days in Nauvoo doing ground penetrating radar for them. So we're kitted out and we're used to doing this sort of survey. So and then again, we might not see it.
Well, they're over 100 years old, so sites now, and they were babies,
Yeah.
where there might not be nothing left anyway.
Hopefully there'll be enough of a density contrast between the surrounding soil and the soil that's backfilled in the grave. That it might show radar returns, or it might not. All we can do is try it.
Yeah.
I just want to say before we get too far. I read everything that Grant sent to us about the story. I absolutely love it. I have some ideas in my head about what a garden should look like and what kind of monument we can have there, but I love this. I'm on board.
Yeah, it was amazing to read. Yeah. I started just quickly reading at work and then I was like, I was like, "Oh, I gotta stop because I gotta keep this because it's amazing. I mean, I live on like between 1,600 and 2,004 feet. So I'm like, man, I drive, that's my area. And so just to know this is right there, I'm like, this is amazing.
And so quite a few of the family members are here. And once this generation is gone, there is no more story. So I think it becomes part of our obligation as residents of Orem and Orem cities to make this happen so that those who follow the stories aren't forgotten.
That was one thing that about it made me sit down and write it.
Exactly.
We know what's going up in the new house. I was never scared of ghosts or anything. We had two baby boys right in our front yard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid to go to the cemetery at night either.
Yeah. My brother's idea of a Sunday ride a lot of times was going up to the cemetery, look at the pretty flowers.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, like Becca did say, this spot right now, there have been homeless people that have been living on it. It is unkept. There is water facilities already to the property, so we wouldn't probably have to dig much stuff out. Yes. In order to. So the great thing is, I'm glad you guys have already started thinking about what sort of monument you guys would want to place, because it ultimately rests with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just have a few things that, because I got some answering about who would have to work on what.
Okay.
And what order,
Okay,
and where the commission lands in that, as well as what would have to be done. Separate from. the commission. Okay, I'm just gonna start at the top of the list,
Okay.
because it's easier for me.
Yes.
And that way I make sure I don't miss anything. So, the first thing, the zoning part. Did you want us to introduce yourself first?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, that would. Alright, been here for like 11.
she lives there in the house.
We all did, actually.
Okay.
Okay, what's everybody?
Well, I lived in the old house too, I was 0 years old, so. There's no one that was there for practice now, so.
name?
To the
Flanders.
ladder, yeah.
Yeah, Charles, I'm married to a family.
Okay,
And I'm Ryan.
their siblings.
I'm Jeff Runner, Charlesville.
And we're Dillman's grandchildren.
Okay, cool.
So we've got what representatives of two of William. William
I'm
York
Wayne
Street.
Ditmore. I'm
yes,
a great great grandson of William York, and so I come down through his first wife, so Minnie would be my great.
And they used to live right where the Del Taco was.
Oh, yes.
And that was my grandparents' home. Then we built a home just west of there, still on the York property.
So what else is still there, isn't it?
So you guys would grow up across the street from each other?
Yes, yeah, they were on the east side of the state, we on the west side. of the state.
Kim ran down to check her sister, and it was wonderful. We say, oh, well, our great grandfather's the same, but he was a polygamist, and she was to the first wife.
Yeah.
Many of you are real old timers at Orem. About 1500 north, maybe 1450. It used to be an old church house on the east side of the road, kind of blonde brick. That was originally even part of our great grandfather's property that was donated to the church. Alpine Credit Union is kind of where the Herenson home was, so the church was just to the south, yeah, of Alpine Credit Union. So he owned a lot of property on east and west side of State Street.
You guys are a wealth of knowledge. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. I'm grateful Susan invited me.
Okay, I've got some good
Okay.
news. Zoning, the public facility zone was just accepted by the city council.
Oh, okay.
This week. Yes, this week. A lot has gone on this week. And so this property was part of that rezone.
Oh.
And because it's a city-owned property, it was part of that, and memorials are inherently allowed there, so we don't have to do any rezoning, which is.
Really good.
That takes actually a lot of time too, and public noticing and all of that.
Yes, yep, that's primarily what I do for the city is doing public notice. So it's a lot. So that's a relief. We don't have to do that. As far as getting permission for doing the ground radar assessment, the Historic Preservation Commission can't give that permission.
Okay.
But the acting city manager, Brent Biden can. So it's essentially. You can set up an appointment with it.
No, I remember working it out.
Yeah, on that.
Yeah. Brent is the acting city manager, right? And then the assistant is Ryan Clark. They will be good to talk.
We'll work directly with you guys to get that.
Yeah, there's no ground disturbance.
Yeah.
Other than, we put out pin flags to create a grid and put
And
traffic.
the city would also probably like a copy of that report. Just so
Oh,
they
yeah.
know. I imagine that'd be part of it, but we can talk to Bren and let you guys know, or if you want to talk to him, that's fine. Whichever.
Tell me what makes your life easier.
I'm here every day.
Okay.
I can turn around for a minute.
He's I'm in the police statement, so I'm just running over here real quick. You guys. So Renee is a city council person and she lives not a stone's throw from this property, and she has known Susan for a lot of years. Long time. Good news.
So I will talk to
You'll
Bren.
talk to Brenda.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to send any follow-up information,
Okay.
and let me
So-
give you Steve's email address too.
Yes. Yeah. Do you want to talk to
Yeah,
Bren?
I do.
Perfect.
It's strange. It's oxygen Thought. Isotope. I'm at really
It's in
a
his blood.
geochemist
I love it.
at Gmail.
Okay, and do you want me to get him in contact with you, both of you?
It's probably easy if he works directly with Steve, because Steve would know the timeline and exactly what needs to happen, yes.
And if digging was desired, I would also say talk to Brad about that, because
Yeah, we won't dig.
you'll just put the markers in.
We'll just put pin flags and tape measures and foot traffic.
Perfect, yeah. That should,
You probably, if you actually dig, there may be legal requirements that you have an archaeologist.
okay. Well, I will let you sort that out with Brent after I get you there.
They did have one.
Yeah.
They did one last time.
We have Steve, next door neighbor, is a licensed archaeologist, and he would probably.
Yeah, John and I were on this commission together.
Oh.
So if we need to pull them in.
Yeah.
Lovely, but that is a little further down the road, so. Yeah.
Yeah, we can do the survey and show everybody what we see.
Which would be really cool.
Great.
Yeah.
Let's see, the next one is about funding. Okay, currently the historic preservation budget is all allocated for this year.
Okay.
And generally, there's a couple of moving pieces, so monetary commitments would have to come to the city council and city manager because it would have to be part of the budget. Okay, but there's also the grant that the commission just got for this year. In 2 years, they'll be eligible to apply for it again. And if there is like a good vision and plan for this, it could be presented as seeing if it's eligible for this grant in 2 years, which that's an option. So that's what I've collected on fund.
Okay.
And I've already spoken with our financial manager
To see that.
for our next year's budget. See, so we're working on it.
Yeah,
So if we don't get it in the next budget, then you would go for the option of 2 years.
yeah, like if we need more.
So you're looking at 20
July first,
This year.
this next budget, I think we will here.
Okay, cool.
I don't know how much we need, but we can.
They've already said that they've got their brains already working ahead as to what they, like there's a memorial that would be appropriate.
My idea is I'm dismissed.
Yeah, I don't think the city council will go for that.
So that's where we're at on them. It's a work in progress, as a lot of.
And we are happy to go out and get private donations.
Okay,
If you
Yeah.
decide that the monument that you want is outside of the budget, we are happy to go. and get more.
We have some people who do monuments too, that we can maybe pull some strings.
Like, oh,
You know, get them to like, for the cost for us.
Yeah, I think people in that general area, I mean, door to door. They're out there.
It's a really small world. I worked at Beazle Monument across from the Provo Cemetery for 5 years. As another dragon.
Right here already.
One stop.
Yeah, wow.
It's a small one.
Yeah.
so 3 things that the Historic Preservation Commission can for sure, actually, we'll get back to those. I'll do the things that can help.
Okay.
Whew, 11 hours is showing. So as far as if parking stalls are required, I checked with Jason today, because I was like, do we need parking stalls? There's like a huge parking lot right there. And he said probably not.
Okay.
It would probably be
Just a walk up.
walk up to kind of monument. It would need to be
Yeah.
approved eventually with an administrative site plan where it's city owned property. It can go through the slightly faster process where it'd be a city project with lots of pieces working on it. So that's also good news. It's faster, more quick approval since there's already some hands in. The well house has kind of been thought of by a lot of people that is planned for this site. It currently is still planned for the site, but there has been some high level initial light discussion with planning and engineering to include the memorial on the site as they're doing the improvements with the well house. So it could kind of like. I don't remember the location of that other one, but it's going to have like a really cool rock art that looks like peaches on top of it.
You mean like going to the fire water tank?
Yes.
The heritage?
So like that one, the site is getting a big makeover in accompaniment with the well being out there. And so that is something that can certainly. be
The well house is actually on that site is actually being designed
It's quite pretty.
for a period to look like an
Uh-huh.
dorm building.
Yeah.
right? So it's, there could be some, rather than have just cinder block or well
Mhm.
house. Maybe there-
It can be designed to look like a barn, which I think is quite fitting considering the story, and that kind of thing. But how
And
much
that
of
falls on you
and
guys.
that- yeah, and this falls
That's
on
the
there a
big
little
one.
bit. And working with engineering since they'll work on facilities. So kind of like an onion, we got lots of layers.
It's great.
Then
I can multitask.
Yeah,
That's right.
and why not, like, the wall of it could possibly be used with some plaques that tell more of the story.
Yeah.
How much of the site they'll need for the well house is to be determined. But they're already aware that this is proposal for the site and that it is an option to work on that to get the site prettied up and less
Fantastic.
sleeping bag and needly as.
There's a few grocery carts sometimes on it too.
Cool, now we're to the fun stuff of the mission. Providing recommendation ideas of what helping with like the design of the monument and memorial marker. Absolutely, in their field house of these. Helping decide where it'll be placed once we know how much we're working with. Also, and working on the landscaping and things. And designing it, that part of it as well. As well as helping to prepare the paperwork to get it registered. with all of the organization. Also, the White House of it. So there's a lot of hands in the pot, but at least I felt like these were good answers that seemed like we're heading in the direction we're not to. So there's your kind of the scope of where we're at with this. This mission can't approve it, but it's supported. It's just a lot of fun moving pieces.
Is there any other information you need us to gather for you? Be it Sarah's team, anything from the real estate side to Steve's side?
So when you survey, we have a general idea where the barn was, right? It's not like that whole piece of property. It's probably the northeast area.
Well, I remember reading something,
They built the house.
the neighbors are buried
By the sidewalk.
by the sidewalk, east of the sidewalk, right?
And so.
Yeah.
It's
I think that was about
right there. I'm feeling that's probably where it was, right?
Yeah.
Yes, and so
Yeah.
there's actually photographs that Susan showed when Orem actually investigated the site before they purchased the site, and then they did actually initially look for the children. You'll notice this
Okay.
in yours. It wasn't a very large,
It was a smaller dig, I think.
it wasn't very large, what they took out.
All I know is I thought it was funny that they
You want
found
to
out
kind of
what
fill it
they
up there?
like,
Yeah,
put it off.
for sure.
It's kind of down here.
Some mouse.
For a horse bone.
The sidewalk was probably about right there,
Okay.
and we dug probably that whole thing from the sidewalk here down to about where the house was. And couldn't find anything,
So it might.
and he dug down far enough that it was like concrete. There was no way anybody could have dug any
So it could be a little
any
bit
lower.
more east.
But someone else actually said in the family too, that they thought it might have been buried in the barn.
Yeah.
And the barn would have been pretty much kind of where the house was.
So I'm wondering if like where the sidewalk comes to the front door of the new house, maybe it's on the other side of the sidewalk. On the west side, or maybe that's where they need to look now. If we look on the east of the sidewalk.
On that east side, it's completely torn up.
Yeah,
Your thing,
that whole thing could be surveyed in about a day, but knowing where we might expect to see graves would be helpful. How big did they dig?
it was quite a ways. I mean, it was probably at least 6 feet or more.
6 feet. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I just, It influences what frequency radar antenna is.
When my dad built the house, he built it back farther than what the city required at that time. And he built it over so that the lines, the gas lines and all that stuff went, hit the grades.
Yeah.
So they've gotta be there close to that sidewalk somewhere.
So we're getting, seeing where
More
those
on
gas
the
lines,
north
marking
side.
those, or at least kind of maybe.
Well, I can tell you where the gas lines are.
On the right side of it.
I have access to that. Let's take. a-
Walking toward the house.
Side.
The east side.
It is going to take them a minute to load because it's a very big program. But I can see the water and gas, not
Okay.
gas. I can see the water in the sewer laterals.
Yeah.
So even when on the side.
Yeah.
East side.
Or that it is 1600.
Yeah, because they whittled away the front yard or whatever over the years.
Yeah.
It's rough.
Yeah. Just change.
Yeah, I remember when there was trees all along there and a ditch and.
I remember it was just around all the way down.
All those
All
turn-
the
all
words.
those turn lanes in there.
Even all the words that's up there.
Better run back to So it looks like the sewer is actually a little more east.
When we lived there too, there wasn't that road on the,
Yeah, so that would have been,
that was
The
grass.
all ground.
Yeah, that
yeah.
part of the yard where that road is.
Right here.
Yeah.
And that's,
Is there a chance, I mean, that any of that, maybe where they already were?
That could be a possibility because they would have buried them probably up on the east side and that the property line would have been probably northwest.
See where that yellow line is in the middle?
Mhm.
His property probably actually almost went out to that.
out to there.
Yes.
So
I agree.
can you do anything to see under like asphalt?
Can try,
But it's,
okay, yeah, you'll get radar scatter, the radar will scatter off the asphalt surface. You can try, use some
No,
more
yeah.
frequency and
I was worried that-
see, but
Guess we'll have to dig up the road.
Yeah.
Actually, we heard that when they did do that road, yeah, that they did stop construction at one point because they found bone, but it was an animal bone. They stopped construction for about a week.
I thought they stopped. Yeah,
That was,
so,
that was just our ancestors telling us.
We're like, hey,
Because they were digging for the babies the first time they stopped it. We stayed for 2 weeks because they found the bone.
yeah.
Well, if any of you could harness, William and the Ava, they could make this a lot easier.
so that's kind of what we're looking at. Risky.
Oh, this is being recorded.
A little bit with them.
It's all good. So
Okay,
kind of where it's sitting right now, but
We just need to see what you find.
it will be interesting.
And that is not where it's. Where that.
I didn't know where this sort of.
I mean, if the
water come in and
lot
gas,
was over here,
but Your property was so far east.
yeah,
Yes, but I remember Darren saying something about.
and sewer lanes do sometimes turn when they get into the actual lot. I learned that fairly recently. I thought they went straight because it makes sense, but I'm not an engineer, so here we are. Turns out they can turn. So it might have been angled or turned.
okay.
And yeah, that's just the direction it comes out of the city system. Cool. Is there anything else you want me to check on, questions you have about what we can do?
No, we are here to assist you in helping this happen. Need more information. I was gonna ask you, if you're aware of any statistics of how the population in Utah, how many of them come from second, third, fourth wives?
Oh, I don't know.
I mean,
but,
they have a significant number.
Yeah, there is, yeah. Yes.
I mean, we could do like the relatives and then a lot of time. Like.
I'm gonna sneak out.
Oh, thank you.
There's somewhere else I need to be tonight. The only other thing I wanted to mention is the survey has to be done when the ground is dry. So summer is the best time. If there's been recent rain. we need to wait for it.
Do we need to turn the sprinklers off on it? There are sprinklers on a portion of the property.
There is.
Yeah. the front part.
Yeah,
Yeah, probably.
or maybe get the watering schedule and do it on a day when,
Like the day before.
the day
sprinklers
before
go on.
the sprinklers go on.
Okay.
That's the only thing I think I need to mention.
Okay, I
Thank you.
will
Thank you so much.
get your information.
I didn't make a great Google project for undergraduates.
Yeah.
Thanks, Steve.
Okay. That is good to know. Any other questions, thoughts? Okay. Who is the main contact for the project?
Yes. Worth the seeing.
And I would pull in anyone else who needed or wanted to be part of this.
It's just that we have.
Think like, start on having that tree out there that's struggling to grow, because it don't get.
I'll go and pick up one of the nuts.
Yeah.
Probably.
So our bid
Well,
there.
you're the one who, I can't officially
Butchering it, I
technically
never did it, but.
you know, I'm
Our
sorry.
trailer everywhere.
No, you were turning this.
Yeah.
Go for it.
That's the hazelnut tree, the hazelnut tree. You gotta have the stinging outside.
Where's the hazelnut tree? That
Which one is it? The, Brian, show them where the.
That right there should be
The black
the
dart.
hazelnut.
Okay,
Okay,
Because there's only that, I think one other tree that's even still alive there that's on that property.
you know,
Yeah.
couldn't tell you, I haven't.
not crazy.
Those other ones you see there on the east side, not on the west side.
Mhm.
I think those are the ones from the car wash.
Oh, they might have been. part of it.
Gas station. Oh, car wash is probably the name.
All right, thank you.
Then I will let Grant know that we're gonna primarily coordinate with you, Becca,
Fantastic.
and then if you can just first info.
Yeah, so as far as the permit though to radar, he
Yeah.
can work directly, Brent can work directly with
Yeah,
Steve.
and I have that.
They need to hold on.
We definitely can take them. Like, given what you've read and things.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's up to you to talk for emotions.
I'm not sure for what.
If you wanted to have a formal vote
Need
about,
a motion.
helping to, with the design and
Proceed.
getting it registered with the historical societies. on the
We need a motion, yeah.
If we need one, put some more information. Yeah. Sweet. Okay, well,
Thank you so much for your time.
thank you so much.
you.
This is
Very-
really cool and was fun to learn about them. So, yeah, thank you for bringing it to us.
What? I motion to adjourn.
Oh, minutes first.
Oh, we gotta.
Yeah, from the 16th.
I make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
All in favor? Nine. Sweet. Yeah.
Sure.
You want to ask who each of you are and how you ended up on this mission?
They were drawn on the list, remember?
Somebody qualify them for the list.
My name's Brittany Laidler. I saw it on Facebook and I applied because I love all learning about the history of where I live. I love it here. So, yeah, and then they called and they did interviews and I guess they liked what we all had to say. I was shocked. When I was like, really? Okay.
My name is Devin Gears. I work here in Norm on the line. I'm
history nerd and genealogy nerd, so. I guess I qualify.
Name's Vaughn. Been born. I'm married as well. Her family. Anyway, I was one of the original members of the original Historic Preservation Commission. That was my idea. To have the Historic Preservation Commission for some of it.
Wow.
Started very.
That's terrific, thank you.
Thank you.
Then it kind of died off, but that's where. This was one of my ideas.
Well done.
I told my wife that if they didn't take care of things, I didn't know where they were, and then everybody that goes to this, because they were tearing things.
Yes, they
And
still
they
are.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of, I was riding along 8 South the other day, going west, and on the north side of the road past Main Street, there's an entire lot that's cleared, except for a little stone and brick structure in the back. I was wondering if you guys know what that is.
I've seen it, but I don't.
What did I
I have a
look at? I
very
mean,
similar question.
it looks very old.
What was the address? Or like it's on 8th South?
So go 8 South and just drive west. Okay. And it's on the north side of the road, past Main Street. I should have looked at the exact.
West of Main
point.
Street.
Yeah, I'm just gonna start on Main Street and go from there.
The entire lot has been completely leveled, except for
little
stone
stone
structure in the
building.
back. And half of it is stone, and then it looks like part of it, they put like a vestibule of brick.
And it's on the north side of the road.
It is, yes. Yeah, they must have done it recently enough that it's not gonna show.
Well, the little brick thing should.
Unless it's set back off the front of the.
Yes.
Oh, I'm
it's
not-
back-
that's not what-
It's on the back left part of the parcel. I saw it and I thought, oh my gosh, I wonder what that is.
Antique field trip.
Yeah.
Yep, that's what
You
I'm
should.
saying. We need to get a bus, we need to get a bus.
Everyone will drive down 8 South.
I can do that.
And take a look.
What we're doing this weekend.
I recently learned about water cisterns being in basements, because I have some friends who bought a house in town, and they went down to their basement. This is a big cement thing, and they were like, what is it? And I was like, I don't know, but I'm gonna find out. Well, I did some digging on the internet, and I was like, oh, I think they probably water cistern based on you if your house. Yeah, so they're like,
For irrigation and everything like
yeah,
that.
I think that they're probably gonna drink it. Just because, you know.
It's very self-sufficient. That's very
It was really cool, yeah. Oh, I don't know where.
We'll go drive by and find.
Okay, well, I'm gonna stop doing that.
It's a big old square lot, big huge rectangle lot in the middle of a block.
Yeah.
You can't miss it. If you're
It's
driving.
gonna be a new house for them.
But they haven't torn, they haven't torn
Hopefully
that
they'll leave
out.
it. Hopefully they How they got where he keeps it. I think cool, little backyard. Thing.
Is it that?
No,
It's
'cause
so hard to tell because the shape of it,
Google imagery is not our best friend.
no.
That looks like that's.
go drive by it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You see it?
Guess we're gonna have to go on.
I mean, I don't know if it was a smokehouse, but it didn't look like it had any smoke damage, like, I just don't know what, unless it was somebody's original home. They
Yeah.
lived in a very small quarters.
Could be a. Could be a stuff.
Yeah. Been outside.
They have those. They're nice.
Oh, back to our.
What's that?
Back to
About.
Do you need a second?
Fourth south and fourth.
We got.
I second that motion.
Back of that house.
Oh,
The house is. So. Been remodeled.
From a real estate perspective, I'm just like, I wanna get in there. Oh, let's see what's going on. Not because I
Find
want
out.
to sell it, because I think that stuff like that is so important to save.
To find out that there's things like people come here and don't know that they're here. All kinds of things.
Well, I thank you all for your service. And I thank you so much for letting us come and
Yeah, this is amazing. I love it.
So awesome.
Jill.
Jill.
Yeah. I want to get your contact information.
Okay,
Because I'm planning on putting together like a
okay,
artistic rendering of my ideas. So,
okay,
and basically, I just want to keep it open.
okay. So
And so we know if I'm going in the right direction or not.
yes, it's just right here. In fact, you can leave this over right here. I just in case I wanted to take any notes. Yeah. Thank you, guys.
That's perfect.
Awesome.
Good deal.
Okay, voting on adjourning, we have a motion. I
Hi.
adjourning one,
Good to adjourn?
sweet.
Cool.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for the-
You're making history.
Yeah. I am nature grant.
She's out of town right now.
Yeah,
She got it.